So I hope everyone is finding some focal points. Some place in their experience that gives them stability, whereby this essential process can be initiated. There are, of course, many practices, and just outlined a few. And you'll have heard so much already. Different voices sometimes even seemingly contradictory. Because you never know the scope and the range of the citta and what will cause it to connect. And this essential arising of faith. There's a possibility in that beginning, that process of disentangling from the grip, the accumulation of the aggregates, the memories, the perceptions, the ingrained beliefs, the fears, the even unrealized, unacknowledged blind spots. We don't even know. So we're just stuck. We don't even know what it is, really. In places like this, in fact, they become revealed. In fact, it's not just a 1, 2, 3, here we go experience. It's often one, 1, 2, no, 1. Wait a minute. 1. Oh, that's better. Just getting that first step really settled in, and then waiting and doing it again with something lift. There's a sense of disentangling from the accumulation we call myself, which is inevitable. We're so in it, we are it, And where's the chink in the wall? You find some space. And you find yourself surprising yourself, which is amazing. This is about transformation. It's not really about getting me to be something else or getting me to have some brilliant ideas or some lovely experiences. It's about a complete kind of overhaul of the whole structure of self. An overhaul, I wouldn't even say a complete dismantling, because we need structure. We need to have a kind of functioning person with language and capacities and bodies and moods and ideas, But that can sense of this dismantling intrinsic fear and tenacity and tight holding of it that doesn't allow room for liberation and growth, proper growth. We tend to ossify, get stuck. Anything that helps to shake that loose without violence, without disrespect, but just, come on, take your time, slow down, take your time. So what I'm doing really is my responsibility at this time, just to plant some seeds. And 1 or 2 of those may grow. Your responsibility is to cultivate the soil, so that some way that some of this can land in the right place. And you do that yourself, really. But you do, because a sense of willingness and openness and commitment is ripe soil for awakening. So let's do a couple of readings today. This is first the Anguttara. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa buddhang dhammang sanghang namassami. So this is the Tens, Book of the Tens, 61. Again, it's about food. And itself is really lovely. And recognition, humble recognition, we need some food. We're not just going to, do this without a lot. We need food every day. Let's be realistic. We eat at least once a day, and that's encouraged. And you really should be taking Dhamma in on regular doses. What is this food? True knowledge and liberation have a nutriment. They need a food. What is the nutriment for that? It should be said, 7 factors of enlightenment. 7 factors of enlightenment also have a food, a nutriment, and that's the 4 establishments of mindfulness. 4 establishments of mindfulness have a food. 3 kinds of good conduct. That's conduct in terms of the body, physical contact, verbal contact, and mental or emotional contact. What actually conduct, how we conduct our attitudes and aspirations and wishes and perceptions. This is the important inner conduct, isn't it? And the verbal conduct will stem from that, and of course the bodily conduct will also stem from this essential internal mental conduct, the fostering of goodwill, establishment of patience, a sense of respect, not carried away with craving, desires, harshness, and so forth. What is the nutriment for that? Restraint of the sense faculties. Yeah, that's how we lose it. And restraint of the sense faculties, what's their food? Mindfulness and clear comprehension. So mindfulness appears twice in this list. So it's not exactly, a straight line, it's often a circling, going back to certain factors. Obviously mindfulness is one of the 7 factors of enlightenment too, so it occurs again. Perhaps essential because it's the thing that holds it all. That you can everything has to be contained and held with some frame of reference and remembered and picked up again. That's what mindfulness does. It returns you. Take it in again, check it in again. Clear comprehension, contemplate it. What's happening within that frame of reference. And what's the food for that? Careful attention. Yoniso manasikara. A sense of probing, inquiring, getting to the heart of the matter, in terms of what one's mind is operating. Where's it coming from? Is it sound? Is it being conducted carefully? Are we trying to get to the end before we get to the beginning? Really looking into the ways that we conceive and our minds work. Careful attention. Not disrespectful of others. Carefully moderated. Speech that's pleasant to hear. It goes to the heart. Careful attention to keep fashioning one's moods and intuitions and aspirations in a way that it's leads to careful conduct. And what is the nutriment for that? Faith, saddha. So it's based upon the sense there is something worth giving this attention to. Yes, it's worthwhile, faith. There's some sense of, this isn't just help up there, somebody up there help me. Faith in somebody up there going to drag me out of this mess. No, your faith is you can give careful attention. It's responsibility. And that's kind of exciting, interesting, and also, there'll be a little bit of, well, I don't know, we'll try, In that sense, you're encouraged to try, and probe and dig things over in yourself. You're going to find the answers, you're going to find problems, you're going to find the answers, you're going to find things you need to know, you're going to find hidden gems in there. Faith says, I tell you this, we all come out of a grubby heap, and we all find little treasures in that heap to either within ourselves, or we suddenly find the next important thing. Faith depends upon hearing good Dhamma, reminders, tips, and that depends, fed by association with sapurisa. This means people, literally speaking, complete people, or thorough people, or people of integrity, or good people. And so, this is, in a way, it doesn't go back further than that. So you really come back to the human association as being the final backstop. This is where, anything else fails, you go back to that again. If things aren't failing, you still go back to it. Hey, what do you think about this? How does it sound? What are they saying? What do other people say? What's the, you keep going back to people of integrity, to, so, it's so important. So the other reading, which I'd like to focus on that piece. This is when the Book of the Nines, number 2, number 3, when Bhikkhu Meghiya, who was the Buddha's attendant, was saying, when he was with the Buddha, and the Buddha was walking around with him as his attendant, and Megha was getting a bit restless, and says, I want to, I'd like to go off and practice on my own under a mango tree. And the Buddha said, well, could you just wait until somebody else comes along? He didn't say no, he just said, could you wait until another bhikkhu comes along to perform this duty? And he says, oh Lord, I really want to go and do this, you've got all, you've worked out your path, Bhante, I've still got to work at it, please give me a chance to go off and do the practice. So the Buddha says the same thing, we are alone, Meghiya, wait until another bhikkhu comes along. Of course, as you can imagine, this goes on 3 times, same thing, Meghiya doesn't get it, the Buddha says, okay, do what you like, So Meghiya goes off, sits under his tree somewhere, gets in a complete state, unwholesome thoughts. Eventually he comes crawling back to the Buddha, says, oh dear, when I was sitting in that mango grove, 3 kinds of unwholesome thoughts kept occurring to me. Thoughts of ill will, thoughts of harming, thoughts of sensuality. Oh, truly astounding and amazing. I have gone forth out of faith from the household life into homelessness, yet I'm still stalked by these 3 kinds of bad thoughts. Sensual thoughts, thoughts of evil, and thoughts of harming. It's kind of comical, really, but somehow I've seen this played out. The same kind of attitudes, I want to go off, do practice. I said, no, just wait. It doesn't say no, you just wait. a little while till somebody else turns up, maybe 3 days or something. Oh, I've got to go and do it. Really hot, you know. And of course, rushing out on that impulse gets into a total muddle, and it crawls back to the Buddha, and the Buddha, okay, hello, here we are. And the Buddha doesn't kind of say, get out of here, you idiot. Says okay, says, yes. Listen, Megya, when liberation of mind has not matured, 5 things lead to its maturation. What 5? Here, Megya, a bhikkhu has good friends, good companions, good conduct, good comrades. This is the first thing that leads to maturation. Dwells restrained by the patimokkha. Gets to hear at will, without trouble, talk concerned with the holy life. And various details. When he has aroused energy for the abandoning of unwholesome qualities, he's got the energy to do so, then, and also possesses the wisdom that discerns the arising and passing away of phenomena. You know, without these, it's not going to happen. And he further says, when a bhikkhu has good friends, good companions, good comrades, it can be expected of him that he will dwell restrained, that he will be virtuous, that he will hear edifying talk, that he will have aroused energy, that he will cultivate wisdom because of the presence of good friends and good companions. When a bhikkhu has good friends, good companions, good comrades, it can be expected he will be wise, possessing the wisdom that discerns arising and passing away, which is noble and penetrative and leads to the complete destruction of suffering. The value here of Sapurisa and Kalyanamitta, the foundation. You do this, it's about restraining your individuality. You know, a kind of idiot, got a culture of individuality. In this day and age, restraining, we tend to not trust institutions, not trust the group, not satsanga, but in general, individuality is the romantic ideal. Be true to yourself. Get out of the group. I can sympathize. I've certainly had that inclination myself. That's how come I'm here. But you get out of the wrong group and get into the right group, that's a different matter, isn't it? Yeah. And how does one become a good friend? A comrade. A comrade. You listen, you sympathize, you bear with them, you endure their difficult pieces, you don't give up on them. And the Buddha never gave up on anyone. His immediate response to Meggy was immediately, he's back, okay. Take the finger off the pause button. He probably knew it was going to happen. And here we go. Keep going. That's the Buddha's responsibility. That's his chanda, his motivation. That's all he's here for. Somebody turns away, okay. They come back, okay, here we go. Just turn it on. Having based himself on these 5 things, he should develop another 4 things. The perception of unattractiveness should be developed to abandon lust. Loving kindness should be developed to abandon ill will. Mindfulness of breathing should be developed to cut off thoughts. And the perception of impermanence should be developed to eradicate the conceit, I am. when one perceives impermanence, the perception of non-self is stabilized. One who perceives non-self eradicates the conceit, I am, which is nibbana in this very life. So these two, always you see a process, a trajectory. Some of the end points of this trajectory are mind-blowing, amazing. Wow, what's that? I'm really attracted to that. Yeah, I want to get to those factors and see, actually the root of any growing thing is the most important. We plant trees, you can cut all the stems down, take all the leaves off. As long as you've got a good root, it's going to grow again. This is absolutely standard. You go if you like to the top of it. As long as you keep the roots well fed and nourished, it's going to grow. So most of our daily attention is to feeding the roots and keeping a container to support the growth, which will happen by itself. And good friends and good companions and good comrades who give to you attention, care, compassion, forgiveness, support, encouragement, who bear with you through the difficult times, through your recklessness and failures and blemishes, bear with it. You draw out the best, encourage the best. This is the steady way of growth. To support a growth which is natural but shaky and insecure, without this proper root, proper container, proper support. When you plant a tree, you put a tree guard around it and you stick a stake in the ground to give it some support. Pretty much the same. And here one's wise companions act as both a nourishment and also a container. Hey, this is not okay with us. This is how we operate. This is the way we do it. Be careful there. Blind spots, didn't see that. Of course you didn't. Everybody has them. So we remain open to that. Steak, a certain sense of, nobody likes steaks. We like flowers. We like fruit. Tree steak is a boring, stuck thing. You probably get to feel that about the institutions, monastic institutions, stuck, ancient. God, stuff, dry. Here we go again. Procedures, same old thing. And this is a steak. Steaks are doing what steaks do. They don't produce flowers. They're doing what steaks do. They keep holding our impatience and recklessness and carelessness and giving us a sense of something you can kind of lean against, and not to sort of attach to it or bind into it, or it's good enough for a steak. Something we can all gather around. And then the true growth occurs somewhere else. And the beauty of we would say an institution, or a proper institution, is every new growth gets integrated into the nature of the steak. There's a kind of subtle changing, adapting form within certain firm principles. It stays in the ground. You can do the fruit. Recognition of that. And it's very, we see the Buddha sometimes give these maps of like 10 factors, 20 factors, 8 factors, 7 stages, 10 stages. It's full of these sorts of things. The Buddha obviously had many ways of expounding this. But again, if we look into that first reading, so when it fills up, when this condition of firm friendship fills up, so you feel yourself lifted by it, then faith will naturally blossom. As that fills up, you'll be encouraged by yourself, motivated to pay careful attention to what you're doing, to what's happening in you. When that fills up, it will make mindfulness and clear comprehension pretty much a natural reality for you, because how else are you going to fulfill that? So as you contain, contemplate. Contemplation means you begin to engage the qualities of skillfulness to attend to the ongoing conditions that are arising. Right? It is naturally as food for the 3 kinds of good conduct. Conduct isn't the most attractive word, but because we think of mental conduct, it's like, what kind of thoughts and inclinations do we favour, and what do we restrain, and what do we do occasionally, and what do we do most constantly? What can we do? Looking into your own reality, I'm not ready yet. I can't feel terribly enthusiastic about this, but I can go along. And then, maybe in time, that faith will arise that will carry me into a very willing adopting of a role, for example, correct adopting of a position, a role, a function, not from some sense of obligation, because, I think this would bring out the best in me. So this is beautiful conduct, isn't it? So that, but if you're not ready, you say not ready yet. Doesn't mean never, it's not ready yet. And then we'll see. Because everything, this is a kind of volunteer form, isn't it? So what conduct or what comes to the fore in terms of your interests, aspirations, sense of care and responsibility, yourself and others within your capacities, and then how are you going to kind of, what do you want to say yes to? Now, I can do. And the beauty of that, when you realize you have potency to bring forth the good, this is certainly an essential phase in development. Early days, you just kind of go along. Then you begin to, a few years, you begin to feel, that's pretty fast, actually, to take on certain, I can carry this. I can carry this. If we're not ready to carry it, we're not ready to carry it. And that's okay, but you're not ready yet. So really knowing one's citta, knowing one's capacities. And this is all in line with this sense of orientation around the human relational dynamic, which is authentic. It's actually what's happening now. It's not just in a book. So it's something we can, and it's required, and it's something we can intimately cultivate in ourselves. And this is definitely in line with the process whereby an arising of faith, an arising of energy begins to take form, actually begin to manifest in how you begin to transform into being really a learner, into someone who's got some capacities, and they begin to firm up. you know, and be able to carry. This is how it goes. And Megya clearly wasn't there. He had the ideas, he'd probably been with the Buddha, he probably heard a lot of teachings, yet he wasn't really studying and clearly understanding his capacity, so his citta collapsed. Yeah. And it probably took him quite a few years to drag himself back again. When you have these reckless moments and something collapses, you got to pull it all. You got to go back again. Good friends, good companions, faith, okay, and take it more steady. So with this, then the Buddha's just saying some basic things. One is what we steer away from. That development of here is lust, but we can look at it more broadly. Recognizing there are powerful nimitters, signs, things glow, things shine, things beam, things seem to be, attractive. And if it's really glowing, you should recognize, whoa, you don't want it. Just by that fact alone, you can feel it being hooked, mesmerized. You think, no, I don't want that. So if you really cultivate deep attention, you can see, that's when the sign arises. One of the Ajahn saying, when he would go through to collect his food, he said, if you ever saw the sign of greed land upon his food, he would not eat that food. That was his practice, just checking if the sign of greed landed on the food, and that food he would avoid. That's why we have the food in the bowl, isn't it? And checking what sign arises when we see food. Okay, it looks good enough, and often allows us, if we've got allergies or whatever, so I'll pass on that one. So it's sensing, then you realise, the sign of the attractive is to be avoided. And things that attract you, probably pass on that one. And you can develop these signs of, obviously food is pretty disgusting once you've chewed it. Certainly, you wouldn't want to go near it if you threw it up. Bodies are pretty unattractive if they die or they open up. It takes deep attention. Goodwill, loving kindness, to abandon ill will. Ill will we can see as cynicism, bitterness, rancor, grudge, feared hostility of others. People don't like me. Something wrong with me. Every here doesn't like me. I'm the butt of other people's ill will. They don't really fit in here. Where's that coming from? We can carry these residues of inferred hostility when there isn't any. That's the one that counts. It's what we do to ourselves that counts. So you develop a sense of the aramana, the mood, the nimitta of goodwill, and you abide in it. You create that your vihara. And any inclination of hostility, negativity that comes to your door, you don't open the door. And the Buddha saying, well, actually, you can cultivate this where you feel happy amidst people who do hate you. You still feel okay. So this is the okay. They don't like me. Oh, I'm not. If something you can correct me with, I'm open to that, but I'm not taking in the ill will. So this is a vihara you establish through recognizing the quality of goodwill others do show. We store it up. The qualities of kindness and goodwill we feel for others, we take those seeds, we store them up. We store them up so that we've got a big store, and that's what builds your vihara. It becomes a natural place where you go to when other things go strange, you then go to that place. Because it's a place where it's a vihara, a place where you can dwell. Sitting, standing, walking, reclining. The avoidance of ill will, negativity, feeling of failure, and so forth. Just, notice, Buddha, when Mika comes back to him, he's not saying, "Oh, yippee, wonderful to see you," but he was not annoyed, disappointed, or, it's okay, start again. That's goodwill. Perception of mindfulness of breathing, which we discussed, talked about, particularly to break the runaway train of thought. I've talked about this, just even insert one out breath, two out breaths. You can get 3 out breaths, just to break the chain of thoughts, the running on. You think, don't think of mindfulness of breathing for an hour, think of 3 breaths. 3 breaths will generally snap the chain of thoughts. Long out breaths. You can pick them up again, but you can, that will definitely give you some sense of, hey, there is a choice here. Yeah. Perception of impermanence, the most, in this sequence, it's the culmination. Seems such an obvious thing. Everything changes. We grow old and die. Summer turns into autumn, so on. Actually, but it's much deeper than this, isn't it? When we train in the intimacy of our experience, every mood, every shift, every flutter, every oscillation, there's no such thing as a thing. This is the stream entry of the realization. Kondanya, all that arises is passing. It's changing, it's ceasing, it's kind of both like a wave. That's both something, when something arises, something else is ceasing. When one feature begins, something else is silence, and the sound causes the silence to change. And the sound disappears into the silence, and then so on. So when we're doing this with our personal habits, which tend to be runaway and sought, something instinctively clings to them to establish stability. I've got to have my known strategies. So we tend to go to those, and yeah, it's understandable, and and yet, it's like when you learn to swim. At what point do you finally trust the water? When you learn to ride a bike, at what point do you just get on the thing and find your balance? It takes time to allow things to arise and pass. Sometimes allowing things to arise, things we don't want to have arise, negative thoughts, distressing memories. We don't want to have them arise, but here they are. What does it take to not bond to that, make a person out of it, make a personality out of it? That's a memory, that's a perception. Don't freak out. Just, can you hold the space? Listen to it. What it takes to handle that carefully, and the releasing, to allow it to move through, to pass. So if we cultivate this in terms of our conscious self-creating, and even our reflexive self-creating, the I always am, or I have to be. I never can. The way this mood, this ahankara, self-formation hovers and shapes us into roles and positions and even more intimate than that, dispositions. That because they're familiar, they become orientation points. I'm a grumpy person. If we think we're holding something bad, it's probably more truthful to say I'm an enlightened person, it's arrogant. A grumpy person, I'll settle for that. Noticing that when the grumpy comes, what it takes to just just take your time, give it space. What's happening here? Open your body. Take some breathing. Ill will. Let go of the ill will. Don't need that. Don't even hurry to get it out of the way. Let it do its own thing to move through. And these things sometimes take a little while to shift, to move along deeply embedded stuff. But you cultivate that recognition of it. So there's a sense of detachment and dispassion towards that seemingly intractable person, just like this. And the lightness of that acceptance of the intractable person, the lightness and the good humour and the at least not acting upon it, again helps to just gently, ever so gently wear down the need to keep being that, and we turn towards the lightness and the spaciousness that supports us, almost despite ourselves, despite our attachments. It's still there. And to recognize that is truly deeply touching. It's like the Buddha is that very quality of lightness, firmness, clarity that's still with us today in our practice, because that's what Buddha is. It's firm, it's clear, and it encompasses the restrictions of the self. And as we begin to turn towards that, we take, that's where my refuge is, that's what I want to all in around. The rest of it, I let go a little bit and see how it feels. Let go a bit more, see how it feels, and trusting it. And this is the process whereby there's the space which allows this blossoming of enlightenment faculties to mature. When it's filled up, if it's not filled yet, do what it takes to keep filling it up. If you break it like Meggia did, you drop the bowl, you break the bowl. Okay, never mind. Come back, fill up, put it back together again. Good friends, good companions, more carefulness is needed, and let it fill up again. So the thing we really never want to drop is good friends and good companions. Because they're the ones who don't drop us. And of course it's a wonderful practice to be a good friend. So this is the encouragement for today.